Imagine a world about to be consumed by the greatest storm in all of human history, where warriors on horseback would conquer more land than any empire before or since, where ancient civilizations would fall like wheat before the harvester's deadly sighs. One man, one vision, one unstoppable force. The world would never be the same again. In 1200, Mongol tribes were scattered and divided across the vast endless steppes. But one warrior had already begun uniting them. His name was Temujin, future Genghis Khan. This is the story of the 13th century. The century of the Mongol storm. An apocalypse on horseback that would reshape the entire known world completely. From China to Europe, from Persia to Russia, no civilization would escape untouched. Armed only with bow and horse, they became the most devastating force ever unleashed. Welcome to the century that drowned in blood, fire, and the thunder of hooves. The 13th century, 1201 to 1300. The Mongol storm begins. As the century began, great empires stood confident and secure in their ancient power. Song China remained the world's most advanced, wealthy, and sophisticated civilization by far. The Jin dynasty ruled northern China, former conquerors, now grown comfortable and weak. The Khwarazmian Empire controlled Central Asia, wealthy beyond imagination, ripe for conquest. Baghdad remained the jewel of Islam, center of learning and culture for 5 centuries. Europe was consumed by its own petty conflicts, blind to the storm gathering in the east. The Russian principalities were divided, their princes quarreling endlessly among themselves. On the steppes, a man who would destroy them all was completing his preparations. None of them understood what was coming. None of them were even remotely prepared. The storm was about to break, and nothing would ever be the same again. To understand the storm, we must first understand the man who created it completely. He was born Temujin, around 1162, into a world of violence and betrayal. His father was murdered when Temujin was just 9 years old. His family was abandoned. They survived by eating rats, roots, and fish. Starvation was their constant companion. Temujin killed his own half-brother over a fish. The steppes taught brutal lessons. He was captured, enslaved, and humiliated by rivals. Slowly, he gathered followers. Men who recognized something truly extraordinary within him. His wife Bort was kidnapped. Temujin's devastating response would shock the entire steppes. He rescued her, destroying the tribe that took her. His fearsome legend began to grow. Over 20 years, Temujin conquered every rival and united every single Mongol tribe. Even his closest blood brother became his enemy. Temujin showed absolutely no mercy. Jamukha was defeated and executed. The Mongol tribes were finally united as one. In 1206, all the tribes gathered for the Great Kurultai Assembly of Chiefs. They proclaimed him Genghis Khan, universal ruler. The Mongol Empire was officially born. He was perhaps 44 years old. The conquest of the entire world was about to begin. Genghis Khan reorganized his army with revolutionary precision, discipline, and deadly efficiency. Every Mongol soldier could ride before walking and shoot arrows before reading any text. Their tactics were centuries ahead of any opponent. They were completely and utterly unstoppable. Before any invasion, Genghis Khan's spies mapped every road, every city, every weakness. His messenger system could cross the entire empire in days when others took months. Now he turned his hungry gaze to the great prize, China. The conquest began. China had walls that touched the sky. The Mongols would find their way through them. The Jin dynasty believed their walls were impenetrable. They were completely and fatally wrong. What the Mongols didn't know, they learned with terrifying speed, quickly and brutally. City after city fell to the Mongol horde. Jin armies were shattered in every battle. In 1215, Zhongdu fell. The Jin capital burned continuously for an entire month. The destruction was so complete that travelers avoided the haunted ruins for years afterward. The Jin dynasty survived barely, pushed south. Genghis Khan had other targets in mind. To the west lay the wealthy Khwarazmian Empire. They made a fatal, unforgivable mistake. Genghis Khan sent merchants seeking peaceful trade. He offered friendship and profitable partnership. The governor of Otrar seized the caravan, executed the merchants, and stole absolutely everything. Genghis Khan sent ambassadors demanding justice. The Shah's response sealed his empire's fate. Shah Muhammad killed the ambassadors, shaving their beards in deliberate, unforgivable insult. In 1219, Genghis Khan assembled the largest army in all Mongol history. The Mongols attacked from multiple directions simultaneously. The Shah couldn't defend anywhere effectively. Otrar was destroyed completely. The governor died, with molten silver poured into his eyes. Bukhara fell. Genghis Khan told survivors they had sinned, and he was God's punishment. Samarkand surrendered. Those with useful skills lived. Everyone else died or became slaves. Shah Muhammad fled in terror. 2 Mongol generals chased him across 3,000 miles. The Shah died alone on a tiny island, a pathetic refugee dressed in rags. The Mongols systematically destroyed every city. At Merv alone, 700,000 died. They built pyramids of skulls outside destroyed cities. The message was absolutely clear. In just 3 years, one of the world's great empires simply ceased to exist. Genghis Khan returned home, ruler of the largest empire the world had ever witnessed. In 1227, Genghis Khan died. His empire was divided among his 4 sons. But his death was not the end. It was only the beginning of even greater conquests. Ogedei, his 3rd son, became Great Khan. The devastating conquests continued without pause. Now the Mongols turned their hungry gaze toward Europe. The West would learn true terror. Subutai, perhaps history's greatest general, planned the systematic invasion of the entire West. Russia was divided into feuding principalities. They had absolutely no idea what was coming. In 1237, the Mongols invaded Russia. In the dead of freezing winter, Ryazan fell in 5 days. No one was spared. The city was completely and utterly erased. Kiev was so thoroughly destroyed that travelers couldn't even find its ruins for years. Russia would remain under Mongol rule for 200 years. The Tatar yoke had begun. The Mongol armies crossed into Poland and Hungary. Europe was absolutely terrified. At Legnica, the flower of European knighthood rode out confidently to meet the Mongols. The Europeans were massacred completely. They had never faced anything like Mongol warfare. The same day at Mohi, the Hungarian army was annihilated. Europe now lay completely open. The Mongols stood at the gates of Vienna. Nothing on earth could possibly stop them. Then news came. Ogedei Khan was dead. The princes had to return to elect a leader. The Mongols withdrew from Europe. Europeans believed God himself had miraculously saved them. But the Mongols didn't truly leave. The Golden Horde would dominate Russia for centuries. Now came the conquest that would shock the entire Islamic world to its very core. For 5 centuries, Baghdad had been the glorious center of all Islamic civilization. Monkey Khan ordered his brother Hulagu to conquer the entire Middle East completely. Ulug's army was perhaps the largest Mongol force ever assembled for a single campaign. The Caliph refused to surrender. It was the worst decision in the entire history of Islam. In January 1258, the siege began. The ancient walls began to crumble. The city fell. What followed was 40 continuous days of unimaginable death and destruction. The House of Wisdom was destroyed. The Tigris River ran black with ink from countless books. The Caliph was rolled in a carpet and trampled to death. The Caliphate died with him. Perhaps 1 million people died. The irrigation systems were destroyed. The region never recovered. The Islamic world was completely shattered. How could God allow his Caliph to be killed? Hulagu continued west toward Egypt. Islam's complete destruction seemed absolutely inevitable now. At Angelut, the Mamluks of Egypt met the Mongol army. Islam's fate hung in balance. For the first time ever, the Mongols were defeated in major battle. Islam would survive. The Mongols stayed, ruling Persia as the Ilkhanate, but westward expansion had finally ended. In 1279, the Song dynasty finally fell. All of China was now Mongol. Kublai Khan became Emperor of China, ruling from rebuilt Beijing, the grandest city on earth. Europeans like Marco Polo traveled to China. The world was becoming smaller and connected. The Pax Mongolica made trade safer than ever before. Ideas and goods flowed across continents. Gunpowder, paper, printing, and the compass all spread westward along the Mongol roads. But along those same roads, something else traveled silently. The Black Death was coming. In India, the Delhi Sultanate grew stronger, sheltered from the worst Mongol devastation. Japan alone successfully repelled the Mongols. Typhoons destroyed their invasion fleets twice, miraculously. The Crusader states, weakened by chaos, finally fell completely in 1291 forever. European kingdoms learned from the Mongol threat. Stronger nations began emerging from the ashes. Russian identity was forged under Mongol rule. The nation that emerged would become a superpower. The Great Mongol Empire was fragmenting. The four Khanates developed separately and independently. Mongol rulers began converting to local religions, Islam in the west, Buddhism in the east. As the century ended, Mongol power was at its peak. But cracks were already appearing. The 13th century was more than just Mongol conquest. The world continued turning everywhere. The Fourth Crusade had sacked Constantinople itself, in shame. Christians destroying fellow Christians. A Latin empire ruled Constantinople. The Byzantine world was shattered and deeply traumatized. In Spain, the Christian Reconquista continued advancing. Islamic Iberia was slowly but surely fading. Great Gothic cathedrals rose across Europe. Faith and magnificent art flourished despite the wars. Universities multiplied rapidly. European intellectual life was beginning its long and glorious ascent. Thomas Aquinas united faith and reason brilliantly. Medieval philosophical thought reached its absolute peak. In England, Magna Carta had limited royal power. Seeds of democracy were planted for the future. The 13th century was dominated by one extraordinary family, the legacy of Genghis Khan. A century of unprecedented destruction and horror, but also unprecedented connection between civilizations. The world that emerged would lead directly to our own. We still live with the consequences. The Mongol Empire remains the largest contiguous land empire in all of human history. Perhaps 40 million people died. Some regions wouldn't recover for centuries after the destruction. This was the century that drowned in blood and fire. This was the Mongol storm. If you enjoyed this epic journey through history, subscribe for more incredible stories from the past. Next episode, the 14th century. The Black Death that killed half of Europe awaits.